Good day. Welcome to the Smart Installations Sustainable Installations webinar. I'm Fred Woods, Industry Specialist at Esri. I'll be representing today along with Mr. Marshall Worthy of GISinc and Mr. Patrick Wallace, Practice Lead for Facilities and Indoor at Esri. Today you will learn about making your installation sustainable. For the webinar, you are on mute. However, you'll see a question window. Please type questions there and we'll review them at the end of the presentation. At the closing of the webinar, there will be a survey. Please complete the questions so we may produce quality webinars. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the page you register. Thank you for attending. Being a smart installation enables you to meet your sustainable goals. A sustainable installation is essential. Sustainability enables organizational readiness by ensuring the resources needed for your workforce are available and properly maintained. This provides confidence in the workforce that their resources are ready to use now and in the future to support training, operations, or the mission business function of your installation. General sustainability tenets for facilities, installations, and campuses, collectively installations, are needed to create a balance between environmental preservation, livability, workability, land use, and people. The fabric connects the following tenets is geography. These tenets include dedicated staff, sustainability, goals, tracking performance, holistic approaches, building partnerships, and sharing knowledge. You need a dedicated staff to provide the necessary leadership for a successful installation sustainability program. This staff fosters interdepartmental cooperation and accountability, spearheads planning, and identifies needed resources and advocates for the sustainability goals within departments. You set sustainability goals based on several factors. For many government installations, laws, directives, mandates, and policies dictate what needs to be done and sometimes sets the priorities and completion dates. However, it is up to installation leadership to establish short, mid, and long-range goals. This should include planning and implementation strategies, such as focusing on renewable energy and water conservation and the technology required to meet the goal. Your success is measured by predefined key performance indicators, or KPIs. To assure accountability, you need an integrative platform to track performance across all your business systems. The success of a sustainability program can best be measured through comparison with past performance. Therefore, when you establish an effective system to monitor and collect target data and tie it geographically, you get more than tables and bar graphs, you get maps. Using maps, patterns and anomalies pop out. When you take a holistic approach, seemingly independent and dissimilar problems often reveal causes or solutions when considered as part of a larger system. When you use a location platform to map, then understand and improve the interaction between business systems, whether it be environmental and range management systems or patterns emerge. This gives you an advantage, ultimately saving time and costs while meeting the needs of your workforce and installation. A sustainability plan is more than your staff. To provide enduring support for sustainability initiatives, you need to build partnerships amongst departments, tenant organizations, the workforce, academia, and neighboring communities. You also need to build partnerships with organizations such as geospatial and architecture, engineering, and construction firms that employ subject matter experts. They can help guide, advise, and implement solutions to quickly enable sustainability across your installation. As sustainability efforts mature, you need to make and manage expectations. By sharing knowledge, you promote transparency, communication, and education across the installation staff, workforce, tenants, academia, and neighboring communities. This will ensure the next generation of leadership and the workforce have the necessary tools to guide and support future sustainability initiatives. So, installation staff use geographic information systems, or GIS, as an enabling technology to better manage the installation and provide a healthy, safe, and sustainable work environment. GIS, or the location platform, equips stakeholders such as facility managers, installation commanders, and campus administrators with the tools required to be better stewards. These tools include visualization tools to see the state of the installation on a map and key performance indicators on the dashboard surrounding the map to quickly see the performance of the installation. Analysis tools to layer and combine information from multiple sources, enabling patterns to be seen that are not visible in spreadsheets. Predictive analytics tools to provide a level of maintenance strategies to ensure continuity of operations while reducing costs overruns due to emergency maintenance. The location platform and GIS tools used by your staff and stakeholders add greater insights to meet your sustainability goals. Now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Marshall Worthy to talk about energy management.
Thanks very much, Fred. As mentioned earlier, policy drives sustainability movement in the government. One of the biggest drivers in the federal government today is the mandated goal to reduce energy consumption by 25% by the year 2025. Goals are measured where you are now, where you need to be, and when do you need to be there are key metrics that you need to achieve your installation sustainability goals. A smart installation uses real data from meters, billing, and a wide array of other sensors to achieve this. The Navy Shore Geospatial Energy Module, or NSGEM, is an interactive web map and reporting capability that integrates authoritative data systems to visualize monthly energy use Navy-wide. It provides customized and standardized reporting to decision makers at Navy installations down to the facility level and all the way up to the Pentagon. It enables this visualization of authoritative data by integrating the authoritative meter reporting data, billing, and other data to the Navy's existing investment in the Geo Readiness Program. Let me show you NSGEM. So NSGEM is an enterprise system that uses the Navy's investment in GIS called the Geo Readiness Program and ties the geospatial data to energy consumption data and billing data and all kinds of other data sources that allow Navy facility leaders to understand how well the Navy enterprise is doing, whether it's across the Navy worldwide, a region, or a facility. So as you can see here, the attributes of red, blue, and that salmon color are really just quick heads-up displays of how that installation is doing in terms of meeting its energy reduction goals. NSGEM also comes with some intuitive charts. This one for Navy NAVFAC, which is Navy Facilities Engineering Command, allows Navy users to go look at in NAVFAC districts in terms of the progress that they're making towards energy reduction over the last 12 months. The chart over here shows energy consumption by region for like Japan and Europe. And SGIM also has intuitive charts that allow the comparison between two primary Navy energy consumption metrics and reality. Further, NSGIM allows comparisons between what the real property system in the Navy has in terms of facilities. This system's called INFADS, based on metered buildings and other counts from other Navy systems. NSGIM also has a powerful query capability. So we can go from this enterprise view that we've just seen, and we can say, show me an installation. And in this case, we're going to go look at China Lake. So I apply this filter, and now I have China Lake appearing. I can zoom into that installation location, and then I can do some further analysis. But if you look, I'm still looking at my enterprise charts. NSGIM allows users that are interested in a single installation to add a chart. And in this case, we're going to add a chart that talks about energy consumption or commodity consumption for the installation. So I'm going to add this chart, close this down. There we go. And you'll see now that we've added a commodity consumption chart for the installation. And this is a very interesting chart. It uses data from existing Navy systems so that we can see how China Lake is doing in terms of energy usage, how much steam are they using, how much gas, and how much chilled water are they using. That's awesome, but wouldn't it be great to go down to the facility? So we're going to go down to, we're going to actually do that. We're going to add a filter, and we're going to go to the facility level. And I'm the facility manager now for a lab called Michelson Laboratory. I'm going to select Michelson Laboratory. I'm going to apply this filter. And now I have Michelson Lab. Now I want to go see my facility. As you can see, we've pulled up Michelson Laboratory. I'm the facility manager, so now I know how good my installation is, how well my installation is performing in terms of what commodities is it using. But you know what? I want to compare my facility that I manage to what the installation is doing. So I'm going to go back over to my query, over to my chart tool, and I'm going to add another chart. And I'm going to do that for my individual facility. And you know what? I want to compare what commodities I'm using compared to those of the installation. Now, as you can see, I've got my commodity consumption for the installation. I'm interested in electricity usage, so I can go over here and see how the installation has been doing over the years in terms of electricity usage. And as a facility manager, I'm pretty happy because I'm doing significantly better than the installation averages in terms of my energy consumption. So the metrics I've been putting in place are actually working. Now, having that kind of data fused with the Esri ArcGIS Enterprise enables me as a facility manager or an enterprise manager of the entire Navy to understand how well I'm doing. That is what you get from a smart installation approach. And now I'd like to hand you off to Pat Wallace, who's going to talk to you about intelligent dashboards.
All right, thanks. This is Pat Wallace. And what I'm going to show you is our 3D Smart Buildings dashboard. And what you're seeing here is a scene within the city of Dubai. This is the Dubai Design District. And this is an example of bringing in campus installation scale facilities and indoor data, linking it to building automation system information, and making sense out of those live feeds as well as historical data flows. So for example here, what we're seeing are different themes that we can overlay on top of our installation data. Here we have operational data regarding work orders, for example, and I can see different totals and the status of each. I can choose to visualize my buildings by this same information, for example. I could also choose an individual building, and I could drill into that same data to better understand, what's going on, within the building. And, I can select the building, and I can also drill into the same information, through this interface as well. So for example, here we're looking at, building 10, but what if I wanted to choose, floor information for building 10? So let's just key into building 10, and I'm going to visualize the floor stack, by this business data that's coming in terms of work order status. So in a similar vein, we can drill into the individual floor level, right? So I can see here that there's a high amount for, floor 1. I could drill into, floor 4 here. And so what if I'm curious about that particular floor, for example? We'll pick the top one because that's easy to see once I peel it apart. So I could choose to visualize the individual components and individual units inside that particular floor. And we can also do that for the different themes here. So we're pulling in energy data from our building feeds. So we have a total energy consumption as well as a temperature for the different units. So I can apply, that same capability for energy to that same floor stack. And then of course I could reverse out, all the way to the scale of the building or the entire site as well. And we can do that for use. So we're not limited to, just energy and total work orders. We could look at, use for the district. So let's go back out to the district scale, and let's just see what's going on here. So here I can see percent occupied by building. I can apply that by building. I can see what buildings are underutilized. So for example, building 9. I could drill into that. Actually building, and then we'll change this building to building 9, and then that way I can dig into the floor stack for that particular building and try and understand which floor is the most underutilized. And so here we can see that funny enough, it could be this floor. So we'll take a look at that one, and we'll change the floor selection, and just like the last one, let's put it at the top of the building so we can see the individual units. So in summary, I can apply different themes of business information, live feed, historical feeds for operations, energy, utilization. You could have n number of business overlays to apply to your installation data, and be able to share that with colleagues for better decision making on the ground. And with that, I'll hand it back to my colleagues.
So we've all heard about GeoIoT. It's exploding. There's sensors everywhere. You've got them in your pockets, you've got them in your rooms, you've got them all over your installations. The IoT is exploding, and some projections put the amount of connected devices in the field out to 38.5 billion by the year 2022. Devices and sensors send out data, but it's really helpful to know where those devices and sensors are. We call that, when you add IoT and location, we call that GeoIoT here at GISinc. That's basically real-time, location-based, data-driven analytics that enables data-driven decisions for your smart installation. So let's go to the next slide. So here's an overview that shows you a typical deployment pattern for GeoIoT in the ArcGIS Enterprise. As you can see, the ArcGIS Enterprise consumes key metrics from sensors on the installation through GeoEvent, and it makes that information available to users and decision makers seamlessly via capabilities like Portal for ArcGIS. In this construct, the data even lends itself to further analysis and presentation in tools like Insights or in the next generation dashboards that you just heard about earlier. Next slide. So taking a GeoIoT approach enables installation and facility managers to do things like track assets, How many pumps of what type do I have moving chilled water, and when do I think they'll break? It helps us track occupancy. How many people are in the room? Is the room empty? And if so, why am I running all the air conditioning in that room full blast? It gives me information like energy savings information and helps me understand what resources I'm burning and how much of them. Helps me with situational awareness. If I know I've got a brownout rolling towards me, it enables those sensors in between me and that brownout tell me when I should turn my generators on. And more importantly, it gives us analytics and data that enable us to start doing predictive analysis. So the difference between my last demo, which was based largely on historical information tied to a map, now we're tying real-time or near real-time information to a map so we can make informed decisions as we need to, more rapidly, and to better affect the outcome for my facility. So let's go to the next slide. So on the left, you have all these devices and things and sensors that are out there on your installation. We then take that and add the location component to that. And to manage that data, we provide a data infrastructure. We've been doing a lot of work with OSIsoft's Pi system and the Pi connector for Esri ArcGIS. And then once we get the data in that data infrastructure, which we call operational data in that infrastructure, we then fuse it with location. We can do positioning and analytics and all of the wonderful things that the Esri solution stack enables us to do. Then we can push that information out to users via web maps or on their tablet or other mobile capabilities and in informative dashboards. So let's take a look and see what that might look like. Here you're looking at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta Airport. Large airport, large terminal. The red dots are people moving in and around the terminal, going about their business. They're using the location data in the terminal to navigate to the nearest Starbucks or to their next gate. But if I'm a facility manager, I'm really interested in where these people are hanging out and where they're concentrating. As we zoom in, we can see the security section of this terminal has quite a few people in it. And then we can look over here in this waiting area past security, only 2 or 3 people are here. If I know the temperature is going to hit 90 degrees today, I might want to increase the level of air conditioning I'm sending to this section, and maybe I could decrease it here. So this real-time data that tells me where people are in the terminal, it allows me, the facility manager, to make informed decisions of where I need to make adjustments in my facility controls to achieve sustainability. Another great thing about this type of capability is it gives you an understanding of what your patterns are in a longer term. We can do it over the hour, the day, or the week, or the month. But right now we're looking at 3.4, almost 3.5 million visitors in the last 7 weeks. And look, we've jumped almost to 5 million visitors over the past 7 weeks, an increase of over 42%. Now, as a facility manager, looking at my calendar and looking at the ebb and flow of people in the facility and where they're concentrating, that gives me actionable information that I can use to better run my facility. In another example, we see an installation or a campus here that's tied directly to the OSIsoft Pi system. And what you're seeing here is an installation that is, these facilities are tied directly to the OSIsoft output from the meters, and it ties the meters to the installation. And what you're seeing as these buildings change colors in real time, it gives me an understanding as the energy manager at this facility, which buildings are burning hot over time, which ones are burning hot right now, and which ones might take me off track from my sustainability goals. So what we're doing is we're fusing the operational intelligence provided by the Pi system that's pulling out of the automated meters, and we're fusing that with our GIS so we can really tell exactly which buildings, even down to the tenant level, are consuming more energy than they should over a given period of time. And now I'd like to pass it back to my colleagues to talk about data integration.
Yeah, thanks, Marshall. So how do we get our data into these great applications so that you can better understand your installations and your indoor environments? Let me show you some of these tools. So for example, what we're going to look at here first is a program that we call GIS Pro. This is our professional data editing environment. And so let's refresh my screen here. And one of the things that we can do is we can see our campus data here. And in this instance, we have pulled in all our indoor information into a GIS environment. And one of the things that we can do is we have different ways of seeing this information. So I can turn on a range filter capability so that I can fleet between the different levels in my indoor data. So I can move from 0 level, floor 1, for example, up to the 3rd floor across this particular installation. And I can see, obviously some buildings don't have a 3rd floor. But how do we get our data in here to begin with, and how do we keep it up to date? And how do we provide ways of seeing this information so that we can make heads or tails of it, right? As it's a GIS, I can have a ton of business information associated with it so that I can better manage my information. The same data that we're using to aggregate in our viewers is contained in this great GIS data. We have things that help us see range, and we have things that help us see through the natural hierarchy of the built environment. So for example, here all my floor plans are jumbled on top of each other, but I configure the different levels of seeing indoor information. Say I only want to view buildings O and M at this particular time, and I only want to view particular floors within those buildings. So maybe I just want to view M1 and O3 simultaneously. So I'll do that. And I can see that as I zoom in, right? Look at the space identifier information as it shows up, and you'll see that in this building we're looking at M1, and over here we're looking at O3. So you can see your indoor data the way you want, when you want. In terms of getting data into the system, I'm going to open up this window, and I'm actually going to pin it. And I've been running a process here, converting CAD to GIS. So I'm going to stop that batch process and just kind of show you what we've been up to. So you can see here that it's keying into all my CAD data, and I had multiple floor plans that it's going to process into a singular building. And I can load in all that great attribute information I was just showing you in our indoor maps, right, that we're using to power these great real-time applications. And I can do things like denote, where does the data go to? What is the coordinate system? Where's my QA database? How do I want to create spaces? And do I want to create building footprints for my spaces? And so this looks tedious to fill this out, but we've tried to make it easier for you to batch process your CAD into GIS. So one of the things that we do here is that we can have an Excel spreadsheet, and we have a feature layer mapping from your CAD floor plan data to the GIS. So you just denote what map layer you want it to go to. You fill in your building's metadata and then your floor metadata, including the source CAD directory. And then, in here, it just reads directly into that data, and you press go and it runs. So let's show you, some of the results of that. So let's zoom back out. We'll zoom out to the main campus here. And on my first go around, I made a mistake. I wanted to exclude floors spaces that were less than 10 square feet. I forgot it was a meter, so it excluded most of the spaces, and it put it into a QA database. So it doesn't lose any information. You can always add it back in, and you can see here that I could paste that back in to my master data store. So, but let's take a look at how some of the successful data process. So I can go back here to my project folder, for example. And what we'll see is it made a database called OOA, that's the building that we're in. And let's just add this to the current map. And so we're going to add these spaces. And this is after I reset it to the right value. And this is for the second floor. So, I mean, that's pretty hot. It's telling you where the source CAD layers were from. It's a fully populated GIS information. And you know, what we can do now is show you tools that we can use to curate that data and keep it up to date. And so this is a tool called Aries Aries Map. I got that backwards. And the same way that we can view individual floor plans in Pro, we do it in this application. So it allows me to log into my portal, ArcGIS Online. I can see all my groups, I can see all my indoor maps, and I choose to load this one, you know, into the CAD editor, and then I can pick which individual floor plan that I want to edit. And here I have building O, floor 3, and I'm going to prove that, you know, this is good GIS data. So I can update the attributes here. But since it actually is a CAD editor, you know, I have access to all the typical CAD tools, so I could update the geometry. But because it's also GIS, I can point my edits to particular type. If I want to draw a new space, I could pick the type of space I want to draw. I could do simple things like add labels. And, you know, if I add labels, it's going to ask me, you know, what I want to name it with. So I'm going to pick the space name. And I'm going to make it a label size that we can all see, and then I'll click OK, and check that out. It's going to label all my spaces, and then I could batch export all that back to a generic DWG file that you can hand off to your vendors, making sure that it's rotated to the correct rotation, not north-south, and click export, and we're done. And with that, I think we've explained how to create and curate indoor maps using source CAD data, and I'll hand it back off to my colleagues.
Thank you, Marshall and Pat, for some great demonstrations. You know, I just want to recap the demos that you just saw. So Marshall showed us how the U.S. Navy, right now, they're using GIS technology, Esri technology, in fact, tied with other business systems to go out and monitor and manage their energy usage within their facilities. Then Pat showed us how facility management is made easier with next generation dashboards, using 3D to quickly visualize individual spaces on whatever floor you're interested in, so you can get a better idea of, you know, what you're adjusting. Then Marshall gave us a view of the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport, showing how GeoIoT can be used to effectively manage your facility's energy usage. You know, let's make it so that people are comfortable as opposed to being uncomfortable. Then back to Pat for how CAD and other data can be integrated into the Esri location platform for facilities management. I mean, that's powerful, where you can go back and forth in between CAD and GIS. Now I'm going to turn the presentation back to Marshall to discuss GISinc's GeoIoT offering.
So some things we consider when we implement a GeoIoT solution is what needs to be monitored. Are you monitoring people or assets or just location? Do you need to be able to navigate? Another consideration is, how often do you need that signal? Do you need it real time, or is some latency okay? Another consideration that you should look at is, what operational data do you need to monitor? Is it your energy management control system? Is it your smart meters? Is it your lighting? What level of positional accuracy is also important? Do you need it relative or something better? And another consideration is, what can your facility support in terms of signal propagation? If you have a concrete facility, it's harder to propagate that symbol. So that'll guide you to what technology you might want to consider for indoor location, whether it's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or other. Next slide. So the GeoloT platform really breaks down into two components. One is the interactive occupant. And I like to say interactive occupant or interactive occupying stuff, whether you're tracking a vehicle or you're tracking people. Another component of that is really the analytical dashboard, the presentation of the data that you're pulling from, and integrating the operational data, tracking people or things or sensors or devices, fusing that into a dashboard that presents the information in such a way that allows a facility manager to make a decision. That's what equals a smart space.
All right, thank you, Marshall. So this is the Sustainable Installation webinar. This is part of the Smart Installations webinar series. In upcoming webinars, we'll dive deeper into these topics, such as safe installation, resilient installation, and smart portfolio, to help you quickly jumpstart your installation to be smarter. The next webinar is the Safe Installation webinar on Tuesday, August 29th. You should register for it today. You can watch videos of previous webinars as well as this one in about a week at go.esri.com/SI webinars. That's SIWEBINARS. You can sign up for the series or just for the topics you're interested in. And finally, visit the Esri Smart Installations page to download the industry's perspective, creating smart installations with the power of GIS. For immediate action, complete the Contact Us form at the bottom of the page. Now we're open for questions. So I'm going to answer the first one here. Let's see here. Will a PDF of the presentation be available following the meeting? And will upcoming presentations follow the same format? So a video will be presented. If you would like to have a PDF of the presentation, please contact me, Fred Woods, at fwoods, that's FWOODS, @esri.com. And the upcoming presentations will follow a similar format. Next question we have is, I'm not sure, I think, Pat, you may be able to answer this one here. Does CAD floor plans work for MicroStation?
Yes, in the example that I provided, we had sample DWG files, but it makes use of Esri's default CAD reading technology, which looks at MicroStation, DGN as well as DWG files.
Thank you, Pat. And let's see here. I have another question here. It says, where are you seeing projects like these being implemented? Scott, or Pat, or Marshall?
Sure. I mean, we have I'm sure our clients overlap somewhat, but we have clients all over the world, Asia, Middle East, Europe, and the US. And what type of clients are they? They really span a wide range. Usually on the national government side, it's organizations with, 1 million plus square feet. Typically in the national government, it's 10 million plus. Higher ed, we have customers in the Middle East, like the one we were demonstrating here, Dubai Design District, where they understand the value of information to make better decisions, to make the built environment more livable and more enjoyable, as well as to save money.
Okay, thank you, Pat. I have another question here from Caesar. Do you have any initiative using CityEngine?
I'll start. Yes. I mean, I would say that maybe some more specificity would be helpful, but we do use CityEngine as part of our basic offerings to get clients up and running using the technology that we've demonstrated. So for example, the 3D data that you were viewing there, typically, I don't need a full tilt BIM information to represent enough to give you an idea of how energy is being consumed in a building or space utilization. So we can build most of that from CAD or floor plans exported from BIM, and we use City Engine to, I guess for lack of a better word, to style it so that it makes sense three-dimensionally or even two-dimensionally.
Okay. Let's see. So Marshall, what do you see as an obstacle to implementing smart installations?
Well, Frank, let me go back to the first question. I didn't get a chance to jump in there, but that question was, where are you seeing projects like these being implemented? And I just wanted to throw out some other things that we've seen. Atrius is implementing visual light indoor location projects in millions of square feet in big box stores, and that's an interactive occupant implementation. That's happening right here in the United States. GISinc has also implemented the indoor tracking or interactive occupant technology for the Navy SEALs in one of their training facilities, where we're actually tracking operators as they move their way through training scenarios. And then for NSGIM, we cut our teeth on that energy project for the Navy. But while that data that was presented is historical in nature, there is an effort underway to perhaps maybe move that to more near real time or dynamic data. That effort is emerging. And so to the next question, one of the things that I see as a tremendous, well, it's not really a tremendous obstacle, but it is an obstacle in the federal space, which is that certification and accreditation. That's been the biggest stumbling blocks for the IoT in general, not so much the technology, especially in the federal space. That said, organizations like Esri and OSIsoft have already gone through what the federal government calls the RMF process. And there are other IoT-centric technologies that are going through that certification and accreditation process in an ongoing fashion. The bottom line is, even though certification and accreditation is kind of an obstacle, GeoIoT is coming to an installation near you very soon, as many things are going through that process right now. And I think in about 5 years, we're going to be wondering why that certification and accreditation was such a big deal.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marshall. Let's see, I have a question here from Arvind. It says, how do you interface with the equipment being used and implement it into GIS?
There's lots of different ways to do that. There's interfaces that range from proprietary. For example, if you're interacting with Siemens or Johnson Controls, you can do that by adding that data infrastructure that I talked about. Tools like OSIsoft's Pi system do that very handily. They have over 400 interfaces that they can use to suck that data in, or you can do it through other protocols like BACnet.
Okay. This kind of leads into it, this as well. It says, what business systems can be connected with GIS?
That's a great question. NSGIM is already connected to the Naval Real Property system called INFADS. So things like real property systems, asset management systems, work order management systems like CityWorks. I mean, imagine the power if you link Esri's location technology, OSIsoft's real-time data infrastructure, let's say on water pumps, and you get a pump fail, you get an alert, you pump that over to CityWorks, and all of a sudden you're doing maintenance orders in real time.
All right, and then I have one here. What about Maximo?
Maximo is just it's just another business system. Sorry, Pat, I get animated about this. It's just another business system. Maximo has already been implemented together with Esri and with OSIsoft and other data infrastructures. So Maximo can certainly be leveraged in that paradigm. Pat, Sorry, I walked on you.
I mean, I would point out that you know, it is just another business system, but some are more tedious and painstaking to integrate with others. I'd say Maximo is one of the easier ones. Their integration with Esri technology is pretty stellar. Maximo Spatial. So I would say if you haven't invested in Maximo Spatial yet, then please do invest in Maximo Spatial, and you'll save yourself a great deal of time and effort. It's same with the Tririga, right? Any of the IBM products, they have a built-in integration module. So if you don't want to use the existing spatial integration, you can always pipe out your business objects as web reports or even new database objects within your existing Maximo Oracle instance or Tririga Oracle instance, and push that out to even, you know, a kind of an outward bound SQL database that if you want to tie something like that into your existing Esri system. So whatever you have in Maximo or Tririga, you can easily connect it to GIS.
That's actually a good lead in for the next question. We're talking about Archibus, you know, with the different CAD and all that other stuff. So.
Yep. Yeah, Archibus, same. And actually, Archibus, I think the integration story is kind of interesting, and it's a big time saver, right? Especially if you're looking at building interior data. So these programs don't really work that well without you already polylining all your CAD data and registering it within Tririga or Archibus. And Archibus actually has a ArcGIS connector, and if you invest in it, and you've already geo-referenced all the CAD that you registered with Archibus, you can export out a a feature service to your portal or server instance with all that data already there. So you don't need to go reinvest in pushing your CAD to GIS. You can just push a button inside of Archibus and make it happen.
Well, that sounds very convenient, you know, to be able to have all these interfaces already set in ArcGIS, you know. And then I think this is the last question, unless somebody else enters something else. How can I put 3D into my dashboard?
Okay, I'll start with that, and then Marshall, if you have anything to add on, feel free to do so. So, you know, one, I'll start with kind of a geek answer to that, is that, you know, our latest web technology at the 4.x version of our web APIs, 2D and 3D have, you know, parallel capabilities. So using the authoring tool that I showed you, ArcGIS Pro, you can easily take your 2D data and, you know, 3Dify it, if you will. You know, some of the tools that we provide available for free are out there to help you do that. If you did a quick Google search on ArcGIS Indoors, you will find our tech preview providing you the CAD tools that I demonstrated today. Seriously, so just do a Google search on ArcGIS Indoors, and you'll see the download links for the tools that I was demonstrating. It also provides tools to help you do what you just asked, right? Go create your 3D data, as well as publish it as web services to be consumed in the type of apps that I was just demonstrating to you. And I can drop, you know what, I'm gonna put that link in the chat window here, so that way you don't have to search for it independently. So just give me a second and I'll drop that in.
All right, thank you, Pat. Let's see, are there any more questions? Give you a moment here. And while if you're typing in some questions, so again, at the closing of the webinar, there will be a survey. Please complete the questions so we may produce better webinars in the future. You know, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the page you registered at. Thank you very much for attending.